taxes!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 111 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie and EJ.
Hello. Hey guys.
Today, we will be talking about the season 7, episode 5 of 911 titled You Don't Know. There's so much to talk about, as usual. I have a lot of energy. I'm fully into this. I think we're all ready to talk about this.
Yeah. Yay.
So let's just go straight into it. And let me just say, I was howling the episode, because when did 911 become a comedy?
Right? 911, the comedy special.
So we open up with like this motivational speaker who gets like alien hand syndrome, and they figure like he's having a stroke or something. That's why he can't control his hand. He's hitting himself, and when they try to restrain him for his own protection, he choked Buck and nailed Eddie in the nuts.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I was like, his reaction.
Well, it was kind of like, what just happened?
Right? And then Hen and Chim's faces are just like, and then you could see the audience was just kind of like shocked.
Because I don't think he just punched him. I think he like grabbed him and like squeezed.
Oh,
yeah, because Bobby had to come over.
That's what you think.
It was off. The guy's like apologizing the whole time.
And he's like,
I'm sorry. He's batting him away.
So hard. And then the way him and Buck walked out of the...
Buck's just like holding his, and then Eddie's just like hobbling. It's like, oh, good thing you already have a son, honey, because I'm not sure that's gonna work right now.
It's probably a good thing to get rid of Marisol, but that's a whole other.
That's a whole other topic.
It's a whole other thing that we're most certainly gonna get into. But opening scene. So, but I was expecting it to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
Nope,
yeah,
that
I
was
wasn't expecting
hysterical.
any of that. It was interesting though.
All I knew was that he was supposed to get choked out. But I thought it was going to be a little bit more serious because, he's getting choked. I did not expect Eddie to get so heavily involved. And then, it was just so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen alien hand syndrome before, but I honestly can't remember if we have. I feel like we've seen it. Or maybe I've just seen it in like other shows.
I think it's been in other shows.
Yeah. I thought it was just funny because the whole like guy was talking about how to be in control of yourself.
Yeah,
and
about
he
like
was
his perfect
not in
self-control.
I was like, oh god, awkward.
Yeah, I was just like, maybe I was just a little humbled.
Right.
Anyhow, so could have been worse. They took him to the hospital. Yeah. So moving on from that scene, so we open up this adorable scene. I want more of with Hen and Karen and Maddie and Chimney. Can we get them going on a double date?
Please.
I'm begging.
We'd love that.
Yeah.
This is adorable. So last season we ended off on Hen and Karen getting a call about like this baby girl that's like up for adoption or like possible permanent placement, and we haven't heard really anything about it up till now. But so Maddie and Chimney brought over hand-me-downs from Jian because Jian's grown out all her baby clothes at this point, and you can tell they're so excited, and it's adorable. And then Chim's like, they don't fit. Keep them anyway.
Right.
Of course, during the scene, I was starting to wonder. I'm like, I wonder if G's gonna always be an only child, if we're ever gonna like see another. Yeah, but also Maddie's a little bit older, so I don't know if they'd ever do that. But that's a little, speculation far in the future. But it got me thinking a little bit. I'm like, I wonder. But I don't know. I got me thinking about that one.
Oh yeah, they had a comment. I was just like,
Yeah. And then Karen gets a text from their caseworker who wants to talk to them. And we go straight into that scene when they meet with her, and apparently the grandmother of this little girl changed her mind. When it came to signing the papers, she just couldn't do it. I feel like I've heard of stuff like this happening before, like when it just comes down.
Oh yeah.
It comes down to the bare bones of it. She just can't.
Yeah.
And good, if the grandmother's able to take care of her, that's great, like being able to stay with family. But it is obviously, it's a blow to Hen and Karen, who are so excited for this. It's not the first kind of loss they've had with a foster case falling through. Obviously we had Nia. We had Nia, and they were looking to adopt her, and she went back to her birth mom. That was a happy resolution, but it wasn't necessarily a resolution for them. So
that was what she was with them longer because of COVID, right? Was that Was it around that time?
I think so. I
I
think
think
yeah,
yeah, I think so because like the visits or something with the visits, like because of COVID, it was hard, so she ended up being with them longer, and I think it might have also had to do with like Nia's birth mom's like housing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a
Oh,
that,
lot
and
of
that's right. Yeah.
I think the birth mom also worked at a retirement home or nursing home, and that's like a higher like risk
Mm-hmm.
jobs. Maybe like I'm not sure because I don't remember, but it was a situation like that.
Oh yeah, no, I think it was the mom had a delay in getting her like housing and stuff because of the COVID, and so they ended up keeping her for a little longer than expected, and then of course they
Yeah.
get attached and didn't want to give her up, which yeah. So I was really bummed to see like they're not getting this little girl.
Then the caseworker brings up another girl. She's a little bit older. She's 9, and her parents are both deceased. She's in a group home, and those are not ideal. No group home is a great option.
Right.
And you can tell this caseworker cares about this girl. She wants her to get a win. And Hen and Karen are like, hey, when can we meet her? They're down for this. Which is great because, in any sort of adoption, whether it's animal or human, babies are going to get taken first.
Mhm.
Right.
So older tends like especially teenagers, like that's a
Mhm.
demographic that they get stuck in foster homes, they get stuck in group
Yeah.
homes. The statistics are kind of awful as far as like their chances in life. I did a
Right.
research into that recently. So it's like, this girl is only 9, she's still a child, but she is still, a little out of age range for some people. So it's great to see, of course,
Mhm.
Hen and Karen would be open, but it's great to see them fully be able to switch, especially having just been let down.
Right. Well, and I think it's cool too that Denny is closer to her age, so it wouldn't be unexpected for them to have a kid around that age because
Yeah.
Denny is
True.
just a
He's a
couple
little bit
years older.
older, which works because they say when you adopt a child that you shouldn't adopt a kid that's older than the kids you already have.
Right.
For sure.
Um,
And
so that works.
Yeah.
I think it also helps that Denny has been like around like, them fostering. He's a little bit more accustomed to like the dynamic of a foster
Exactly.
home than just like, oh, they tried to adopt somebody and then there's a new kid. And from what we can tell, he has been great with like his foster siblings.
Oh yeah.
So, and he was so attached to Nia too.
Mhm.
So, this is great. We love this. This is looking great for them. And then we go into the long anticipated Tommy and Buck date. And I honestly had no idea what to expect other than that brief promo we got. And that
Mhm.
already looked like a disaster.
Yeah.
So they can tell we're at the tail end of their date, or at least the dinner part. They're supposed to be getting dinner and a movie. Buck's looking around when they're talking, and Tommy tells him nobody's looking, nobody cares. I'm gonna immediately just say right now, I think Tommy did a great job, like just kind of easing him through, like not taking things too personally.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think he was doing great, and I fully think personally that that's because he himself came out later in life and had such a period
Yeah.
of like having to accept himself. I'm loving this. I'm most of the time I'm just like, yes, he gets it.
Mhm.
But so he's reassuring Buck, and then Buck asks Tommy if he's always been out on the job, and I'm like, yes, we finally get a little bit of dressing up his past because we haven't really up till this
Right.
point. And Tommy's like, no, he couldn't. He had to be lying with the old 118's captain, and he was still figuring himself out.
Mhm.
And it was when Tommy transferred to Harbor that he stopped lying about who he was. And darling Buck, so it's like, I'm not lying about who I am. And Tommy's like, I didn't say you were. I was talking about me. And I thought that was actually, Buck has a tendency to sometimes make situations about himself. I thought that was a gentle but a good call out of that,
Mhm.
just being like, not talking about you, I'm talking about me.
Right.
And I think I personally would be like a little embarrassed if that happened to me, but also like it's a good
Yeah, I get
call
that
out.
comment
It's
because
a good one.
like I feel like anybody could easily think, oh wait, I'm not doing this. And it's like, no, calm down. Nobody said you were.
Right. Like I wasn't
Yeah,
talking about you.
thinking a little personally, I think Buck was listening with the intent to like relate himself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like in conversations, you want to be able to relate to what the other person's talking about, but also you need to sometimes just listen. And Tommy has a very specific situation, so he
Yeah.
he wasn't saying that about Buck. He was just saying that about himself because he fully can acknowledge how he had to deal with himself before.
Yeah, and I feel like Buck's in a situation where he feels like he has to justify everything because this is all new to him and everybody else that knows him. So he's like, "Oh, wait, I'm not doing that." It's like,
and also
just
Buck has realized that he is a boy kisser for 2 days. He's new.
Yeah.
He's very new to this. I don't feel like he's at all really like thought through what this means, or maybe he's overthought it. Either is possible. I feel like
Buck
he's probably
would
done
overthink it.
I think he probably overthought it, but didn't really think about it in the terms of like processing it.
Could you try again?
Siri's been doing that a lot lately.
That was really funny, actually. Also, sorry if my like cackle was very loud. I just realized it was very high pitched. But yeah, so you know, we love Buck. He's struggling a little bit here, but you know, Tommy's being gently patient.
Yeah.
And then, oh boy, Buck says
he goes into his tailspin.
Like at some point, personally, I think Tommy should have shut up, like kissing him or whatever, because he needed to be shut up. At
Just
some
reach
point.
over the table and make out.
Right?
Yeah. Or at least like put your hand like gently over his mouth and be like,
Stop.
with all due respect, take
buddy.
a breath. Take a breath. Breathe. Stop talking yourself into a corner or back into a closet. So Buck mentions this is his first date with a dude. I personally am not worried about the dude phrasing, though I think
it was just like him going with a dude
with a dude
dude.
Could you have been any more awkward, dude?
He's not weirded out. I'm like, are you sure? And then he's like, every Pride Month he puts a rainbow on his Instagram. I'm like, you and every other major corporation except Chick-fil-A. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he's an ally.
Right.
And I'm like, well, yes, we have established this. You are in fact an ally. Your lips sealed an alliance with Tommy's lips. This is confirmed.
Has now past ally level, like here. And I think it's so funny. Somebody made a comment on somewhere, I think it was Instagram or maybe it was Twitter, and they said something like, you know, he puts the pride like flag up every June, and they're like, yeah, and they probably figure that he's with the guy that he posts pictures of his kid all the time.
True.
People are like, so this is just them saying that in June we should all put like pride flags on our Instagrams for Oliver, for Buck, and it was
there
just like,
911 fandom. This is what we're gonna do. We're all gonna put a pride flag on Instagram in June and say for Buckley, R.I.P. Your straightness.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. We're all saying the same thing. We're like, well, Buck, you've upgraded yourself from being an ally, so there's
you have chosen the premium option.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say premium yet. Just
he's chosen the trial run, and he hasn't read the instruction manual. So
he's in the IKEA instructions for furniture. Having to build it.
I don't know.
It's just like, you know, babies aren't born with the instruction manual. Queers are not given the instruction manual either.
Right.
For how to be queer. We're just are. So he's literally the definition of a bi disaster at this point, and I love that for him.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's a little bit of a disaster when they first come out. Personally, speaking as someone who was probably less of a disaster, but I still do.
Mm-hmm.
It's being human. But Tommy says, okay, so maybe it's just me who makes you nervous. And I'm like, in a fun way.
Yes.
Right.
I'm vibing here. Like, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall during this.
I'm so vibing with them. Like I am.
Yeah. And then Eddie, because apparently, as Lou himself said in the interview, there's only one restaurant in LA, which they've already established was an out-of-the-way Italian place. Eddie's there, and he sees Tommy and yells for him, and he's like, "Buck!"
How aggressive! And I loved the everyone posting the promos and making like little edits to it and being like, "Well, that was aggressive." Like the way Eddie just yells. Well, after he realizes that Buck's with Tommy, he goes like, "Buck!" And it's like, Eddie, calm down. Inside voice, sir.
I think
Right.
they muted it more in the scene. I think it was louder in the promo,
Yeah.
but it was still a little like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you jealous that your husband's on a date with his boyfriend? Like, is that what you're trying to? And of course, Marisol is there. Oh well. But
Yeah, we
he's
can
like,
ignore that.
Yeah, I
"Eh."
ignored it.
I'm like, oh,
And
she was
then
in it.
yeah, like, oh no. And then and he's like, hey, you two are hanging out. That's so great. Yeah, sure. Something along
Something
those
along the
lines.
lines of that.
And the scene was
And
fine up until this moment, and then I just got cringy. I was like, this was awkward.
oh, see, here's the thing. I already could tell I was gonna get such bad secondhand embarrassment that I kind of skipped through a little bit of the scene.
I can't
So
do
I
that.
actually never caught the hot chicks. And I heard about it, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't hear about that until after the fact, because I would have cried. But so Tommy's like, yeah, we're grabbing a bite to eat, and then we're seeing a movie. And then Buck, honey, but sweetie, please never speak again. He's like gonna go get some hot chicks.
Yeah, go hang out with some
Go
hot
hot
chicks.
chicks,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
bro.
Buck,
Fire,
shut
fire.
up. Because
And
it's like
Tommy's face is just like, huh?
his face is
Right.
Like,
like, bitch, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I feel like he was having in his mind, he was going, and I thought I was bad. I feel like he was having a he thought I was bad moment. Yeah. So apparently Marisol is moving in, which I knew that's what it
We
was
all
gonna
knew
be.
that was coming. I'm just like,
Oh
Eddie,
yeah.
what the
See,
heck
half the
is
fandom
wrong
was
with
like,
you?
oh, we're gonna get a breakup in this episode. And I'm like, no, I'm the way they're phrased, like they're thinking over their relationship, she's moving in. Like that's how it's
I
gonna
hate it.
work. We didn't have enough
I-
build up to a breakup
Yeah.
for this to happen.
It's coming.
It's
Oh,
coming.
yeah.
It's gonna
I definitely
projecting.
don't.
I'm projecting. So
Which
Yeah, I don't
people
like it.
people were like, wait, why is she still around? But we got to remember that basically she came in at the end of season 6, like in the finale. And you got to remember that, like, when they sign on, they're contracted for a set number of episodes. So we just got to get
Yeah.
through however many episodes she was contracted for, which I can't see
Right.
lasting like into next season. I definitely think it's gonna end the next couple
Yeah.
episodes. I heard episode 7 being thrown around there.
I don't know. Since we know so little about the upcoming episodes, other than the Madney wedding, I don't know. But I don't see it going into season 8 at this rate. I will
don't
cry.
either.
But I can't, because again, we have to think. They were able to get rid of Natalia, but she
Yeah.
had already acted in a set number of episodes because her character was around
Right.
for like 3 or 4. I
Well,
want to say.
yeah, and apparently she had like another project, which is why this season
Yeah,
they
but
were able to.
Marisol, either she was contracted like before the original season ended, or like maybe they started. But also, like, feasibly, storyline, it'd be really weird to get rid of both girlfriends before this season even begins. Like, what's the point? So I don't know. They need to get rid of Marisol. But I'm only gonna be mad if they keep her in much longer, because I feel like storyline purposes it makes sense for her to be there, but I wish she was gone. So yeah, so moving on from that. They're talking about closet space, which I'm dying. And Eddie makes some comment about you can never have too much closet space, and Tommy goes, ain't that the truth, right, Evan?
I was like, that was a good line. Like, you can't even deny that. I was just like,
Right.
oh,
Killed me. I feel like that was just a little bit of payback for the hot chicks line.
yeah. If you can be
because-
playful, I'm here for it.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't being malicious about it.
Right.
like-
That's why it played well.
Buck was the only one other than Tommy who was gonna understand what that meant.
Right.
Eddie had no
Oh
clue.
yeah. It
Marisol
would go
had-
over Eddie's head. Come on.
Like, it's an
I love him,
innocent space.
but
Yes.
yes,
He's a dumbass. We love him.
yeah.
He's a dumbass. We know this. This is why most of what happens with him in this episode happens. So yeah, love that. So Tommy and Buck leave, and Buck's talking about the movie, and an Uber pulls up, and then Tommy says how it's just for him, and they're not going to the movies, and he's like, Evan, I think you're adorable, but I don't think you're ready.
Right.
And honestly, respect.
I was about to be like,
Yeah.
respect.
For sure.
I personally would have liked it if he had maybe not like started getting in the car and then said it or like whatever. Like I think maybe a little bit longer conversation could have been had, but I don't necessarily. I'm not upset at how this went. I've seen some people be. I'm not upset how. I think obviously we know he's interested. He's like, I think you're adorable. Which yes, thank you. Someone actually called Buck adorable finally because he is. He's a adorable golden retriever.
Yes,
but then he's like,
is.
I don't think you're ready.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Like he has no obligation to be there, and he's not pressuring Buck. So I don't know. It's sad that the first date was a little bit of a disaster, but what else did we expect?
I know. Yeah, it was like, oh no. And like people were losing their shit just about other things because when the pictures of them at dinner were out there, people were like, okay, so they have a pitcher of beer, they have salads and pizza. Why pizza and salad don't go together? And I'm like, guys, have you never gone to a pizza place that you got like a salad or an antipasto? There's this pizza place I used to go to growing up where you got like pizza and usually you got like some sort of antipasto with your pizza. And also I'm like, you guys need, I don't know if, like where these people are from, but like that is literally the classic.
Also, have you never been on, like, it's okay if not, but have you never been on a date? Because I'm sorry, have you never watched a romance? Have you never read a romance? So you have no concept, because that is such a classic date.
I want
going
to
out
think
for
that
pizza.
these people weren't like, maybe weren't American. I don't know. I don't know what else to think.
I don't know. I saw at least one account online because I ventured onto Twitter once and I regretted it. I'm sticking on Tumblr for my 911 content. Thank you very much. But one account I saw is saying that I'm pretty sure was American. So I'm like, beer, pizza, and salad is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They're going on about like beer waste. I'm like, is that a problem with this really? Do you really have a problem with the food and the drink, or do you have a problem with something else about this?
Right. And one of my friends was like commenting on that where I was just like, this is a classic. And she was just like, people are losing their minds. Like, okay. And she explained it. She's like, listen, these are some, like, do you know what they do for a living? They're trying to stay fit. Like, you see how they're built?
Yeah. Well, and the
like
amount
they're
of
gonna get the calories
they burn, that like a couple of slices of pizza is not going to be a big deal for guys like that.
But I don't think a pizza and some beer is gonna make them lose their six packs. Okay, like
not to mention that beer was like, that pitcher is still like pretty full when they left.
Right.
It was a replacement pitcher, so they went through one. At the very beginning of the scene, she switched out a pitcher.
Right. Yeah.
But like, also look at them. They were also being responsible. He got an Uber.
Yeah,
he wasn't even driving after that. Like, yes, this was actually, there is no complaint as to what the food was, what the place was, what the drink was. Honestly, I think people are just having issues with other things and just taking it out on this.
People are just not even meticulous, but people are just, I don't know. There's some things that people bring up about a scene that literally I'm like, that wouldn't even cross my mind to be analyzing why they're eating this on their date. Like, who cares? I do not care about
that's like
random
a pretty
shit.
common first date.
It's funny, but it's just like,
I mean, hell, I was at a pizza place for lunch just a little bit ago. Like, we didn't get a salad, we both got pasta, and it wasn't a date, but it was like, still, it's like, it's not a big deal. But anyhow, so it was an interesting scene. I liked it, even if it wasn't necessarily a success. Yeah, I think it did a good job of establishing what was going to be worked on in the episode.
Oh yeah.
So now we're going to move on. We're going back to Hen, Karen, and Denny meeting Mara, their foster daughter, and she is nonverbal. She's not speaking. She's very hesitant. She seems very withdrawn. Like, you look at this child and she's like, oh, that child has trauma. But we know only at this point that both of her parents are dead. So clearly that's already going to be traumatizing. But there's something else there. And then he brings her like this stuffed bear, who apparently was like
sweet.
It was so sweet.
He was being so good with her, and she takes it, and she's very attached to this blanket that she brought with her. And when you
Mhm.
wash it, she flips out. She won't let go of it. And I'm like, okay, I've heard similar stuff before. Like it's kind of like
Mhm.
it's their last thing from their home. So that would make sense. And they get her to go to the kitchen for lunch, and the social worker says she thinks that's a good start. It's like, okay, so clearly they're gonna have a little bit, they're gonna have a journey ahead. So now we get Maddie and Buck, the Buckley siblings. I was living for this scene.
I
Yeah, this
know
is good.
it's been a
Beautiful.
while since we got like a good scene like this. Like I know we got them in last episode, but this scene hits.
Mhm.
It's this which shows why the Buckley siblings are just sibling goals.
Right.
It's like, yes, we got them last episode, but I feel like we haven't had this kind of scene in just a little while. It's been a hot minute.
Right, exactly.
And Jennifer Love Hewitt and Oliver Stark both acted their asses off, and I love them for it.
Yeah, they did
I love
great.
them for it. So immediately we open up with Buck lying to Eddie.
Yeah.
So she comes in, she's like, so you lied to Eddie, and that's where we open up the scene. And Buck asks if Chim's there, and he took G to daycare, so it's just them. That's good. This is a conversation that just needs to be had between the two of them, especially since Chim crashed one of their last conversations in which she was jealous of Tommy at the time.
Right.
So probably best. And so Buck talks about having a date the other night, and Maddie's like, is it anyone I know? And Buck says, no, I don't think so. At this point, he's not saying who he was on a date with, so he did not come in, I think, with the intention of coming out. And so Maddie asks, no, so Buck mentions that they picked a place out of the way, but they ran into Eddie and Marisol, again, like Lou said, because it's apparently the only damn restaurant in LA.
That's hilarious.
And explains that Eddie knows this person, and Buck lies to make it seem like they're just hanging out. And Maddie, I'm Maddie in the situation. He's like, "Are you dating a married woman?"
I love how that's her step.
I mean, in just with his past dating history, I don't think he would do that, but it's just like
No.
you would question.
Right.
At this point, it's like, why is this? She's going, why is this a secret?
Right.
And because Buck's not really hidden his dating life before. Even once he was past his 1.0 days. So it's like, okay, what's happening here? And Buck's like, no, I would never. Like, he was so indignant. I love him. And then she's like, oh, is it a celebrity? And Buck's like, who it is isn't the point. It is, but we're gonna get past that. And then he's like, the point is that he lied to his best friend's face. And Maddie's like, well, why would you think why would you do that? Why do you think you did that? And Buck's like, how it was his voice, but someone else was making him say that, like it was out of his control. And Eli slid his way out of the mouth, and then the night ended pretty quickly after that, and it was humiliating. If I was in the same situation, honey, I'd be so humiliated. So I feel Buck in this one. And then Buck says he left me standing outside the restaurant, and it was right there. He felt like a fraud. And Maddie's like, I'm sorry, who left you outside the restaurant? And Buck's like, my date. And Maddie's like, can we go back to the pronoun?
Yeah, when she says that,
I love
she's
that.
like, wait, can we go back to the pronoun? Because her face is just like, wait, did I hear
you
this?
see her going,
right?
did I hear that?
Right.
She only hesitated a moment, and then he was like, I was on a date with a guy. Not really the point. And Maddie's like, could be very much the point.
Yeah.
I love Maddie. She's the entire fandom at this point.
She is.
Yes.
She is in so many cases, let's be honest.
Jennifer is so supportive of Buddy. Like,
she's great. I love Jennifer. You can tell how invested she is in her characters and this storyline. Whether it was, I feel like she had an investment in like a Buck's like being bi storyline, whether it was Buddy or not. But we all know she's a Buddy fan too, and so I feel like she was prepared to have this scene at some point.
Right.
Just maybe not concerning the love interest that it's concerning. Yeah. And Buck's like, but it shouldn't be, right? Like, I'm an ally. I've always been an ally. And Maggie's like, so now you're more than an ally. And Buck's like, well, it's the first time he was dinner in a movie, and he didn't even make it to the movie. And Maggie goes, wow. And Buck's like, what? Wow. And Maggie's like, not wow. Like, I didn't know that's where your interest would lie. She's doing a great job, by the way. Like, considering she got this all dumped on her in the last minute.
Right.
And Buck's like, well, I didn't either. He said how he's always loved women, And Maddie asks how long he's been leaning the other direction. And Buck's like, well, I occasionally check out a guy's ass, but that's normal. And Maddie's like, that's not abnormal.
I
She's
feel
like,
like
that's not
for guys, it's
abnormal.
not like a common occurrence.
Right.
Like guys will not guys guys on the average will not like regularly check other guys out. I feel like it's very normal for like girls to check other girls out, but for guys to check guys out, not necessarily the most average thing to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like that comes down to a perception on whether you feel like that's like a gay thing to do.
Right.
Because I don't know that I necessarily find, because I know I'm speaking as a queer person, so maybe I'm biased. Because I do in fact find girls hot, but I feel like it's not an inherently like romantic or sexual orientation thing to check another girl out, or for a guy to check another guy out. I think that's just like you can find a person aesthetically pleasing, but
Yeah.
you don't have to be attracted.
Right.
But maybe that's just me as a queer person. I don't know. I started talking, that I realized I might not be the person who's able to talk about this.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like if you asked a guy like what guy they thought was attractive, most guys would be like, they wouldn't want to like say anybody or admit to it. Or girls
Or
will most girls will literally be like, they could tell you. It's just how like, I feel like it's just how people are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, some guys I know would say that another guy is attractive, but they'd follow it up with a joke of some kind. Like they play it off.
Yeah.
They wouldn't just leave it at a guy being attractive. So yes, I think that's it. But I just Maddie was so mean, just going that's not abnormal.
Yeah.
I know. I'd be so Maddie in this situation. I'd be like,
She's trying so hard to
okay.
be supportive. She's
Right.
trying so hard to like validate his feelings and everything and not contradict him, but she's struggling a little bit here. And then Buck goes, well, with Tommy, I don't know, he's so confident, he's interesting. He has a cleft, and I'm like, he has a cleft. He finds the fact that he has a cleft in his chin attractive. That's so cute.
It is.
Yeah.
And then Maddie's like, oh, wait, it's the same Tommy?
Right. She's like, wait a second, the last time I heard about a Tommy was a week ago. Like Eddie's new friend, Tommy?
Mm-hmm. And Buck goes, yes, the pilot. And Maddie's like, Eddie's friend. And Buck's like, a recent friend. We met him at the same time.
Which I was confused about, like, timeline wise. Like, I wasn't sure if Buck had previously just briefly met him, or if that was
No.
like the first time. So that like cleared that up. I was like, oh, okay, this is making more sense now.
With my rewatching of the Begins episodes, because Buck was Tommy's replacement, so he never met.
Yes, that's what
Tommy
I
when
was
they
confused
switched
about. I wasn't sure, like, timeline wise, like when Buck
Yeah.
had started the 118 and when Tommy had left. I was just like, wait, we need to fill in a few blanks here.
Right.
Which I think it's like so beautiful that Buck was Tommy's replacement, and they just narrowly missed meeting. Then they met 7 or 8 years later, and look at where they are. Like they were so different
Yeah.
from back then from where they are now, and look at where both of them are now. I don't know.
Yeah, I was scrolling through Tumblr and I found some of the gifs of Tommy and Bobby Begins with the chicken, and they're running from the chicken and they're trying to I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I know. Well, this
Whoops. Yep.
That might have been a little too explicit for our podcast, but oh well. I'm not.
I mean,
wrong.
a lot of things from the Begins are like popping up like after this, either before or after this episode. Like from one of the Begins episodes, it was like the comment about like one of the guys is insinuating Tommy was gay because they were talking about Twilight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's how Begins.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. Are you team Jacob? And it's just like, it was funny because I'm just like, I know they didn't plan that, but like in my brain, it was just always there.
And also, like, considering that they weren't planning to bring Tommy back, there's also a scene in Chin Begins where the captain is grilling Tommy about his supposed girlfriend, who's supposed to come and cook for them, and Tommy is so clearly lying through his teeth about this girlfriend. And I'm
Hey,
like,
it was always there.
for the fact that they
Yeah.
weren't planning this, I wish we could go. I wish we could get a writer's thing, and like, I wish we could examine what their intent was with those scenes. Whether it was just
Yeah.
to imply that he was gay but never bring him back, or what? Like, what was the
Right.
plan here?
I
Because
think
it's
there was something
so-
always there, whether if they wanted to bring him back to explore that or make his part like slightly bigger. I feel like they kind of added like the foundation for that, which is why I'm totally okay with accepting it because I'm like, yes, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
always there.
It's not like they're bullshitting this. These signs were always there.
Yes.
And I feel like, we're just seeing them in a different light now. So
Yeah.
honestly, I have never watched any Begins episodes again other than
I know I need to.
Buck and Eddie's. But I have rewatched Chim, Hen, and Bobby Begins, and they're gems. I didn't appreciate it
I need
before
to,
now, but they
yeah.
are.
Well, they hit differently now, in a way.
They do.
Like, yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and watch them. I just need to go back
Yes.
and rewatch the series, and we got some time, so I might do that.
We should. But yeah, so moving back into the scene. So Maddie, so again, we established that they had not met each other before. Maddie's like, okay, I don't think you're a fraud. I think you're just not sure of your own feelings yet. And that there's
Mhm.
something that Bucket needs to tell Eddie, he will, just in his own time.
Right.
And I feel like this line can be seen as many different ways. And I've seen other people interpret this line in many different ways.
Mhm.
And I feel like it works no matter how this turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
I will adopt her as another older sister. Never mind that I already have several. I will adopt her. I love her. But then Maddie's like, so tell me about this hot pilot.
I
like,
love
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Like we love it's just so important. And I know like people have said like online they're like, okay, and I agree with this, like I literally do not have like Buck come out to his parents, have like that be a scene between Bobby and Buck, and I'm like, absolutely.
Yes.
Like it's I need it because like that's the only father we care about, which is what everyone was saying, and I'm like,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I need those things. But yes, this was so wonderful. And unfortunately, from there we move into quite a scene.
Quite a scene that I ignored half of. I was just like, oh no.
Somebody made a comment that like, oh, that was a very Glee scene. I was like, it was.
It was a callback to season 2 again, because we got a very similar scene with Shannon, at least the beginning of which is
Mhm.
them at the very tail end of having sex. And
Yeah,
like,
I was
oh,
just like,
that
no.
was something I never wanted to visualize. Thanks for that.
I was
Right.
just like, it was kind of one of those things where I may have been looking down, and then I look up and I'm like, oh, what the heck?
Jump scare.
Yeah, jump scare. Like
Yeah.
I do not like. No, I just don't like. I don't like them. I don't like Marisol. I don't like the
No.
actress. It doesn't help any of the situation, and
Mm-mm.
it gets worse. The scene gets worse.
I would
Oh,
be
yeah.
more neutral towards Marisol if I didn't dislike the actress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I dislike the actress, so Marisol's gone for me. Like, no.
Yeah, I just ignore. I don't. Yeah.
And so they're moving in together. It's so
So disgusting.
how long has it been? Do we have a timeline?
No, but it's not been very long.
Because I don't think
Yeah.
the cruise had to have been that long. This is all happening within the week after the cruise rescue.
I think the cruise between during episode 4, I think they mentioned the cruise had been like at least a couple weeks. So I'm assuming this is a couple weeks after that.
Yeah. So
So,
Marisol and
say-
Eddie really haven't been together more than maybe a few months.
Yeah, because we got a little bit of time
They're
to
moving
skip.
way too fast.
Yeah, way too fast to be moving in. Especially because it's mentioned that Christopher's out of town for a couple of days. He's moving his girlfriend in when
Like, please tell
his
me he
son's
talked
out
to
of town?
Christopher at least.
he
Please tell me
good
at least
damn
talk
well
to
better
Christopher.
have.
I'm sure
And
he did.
I do not see Eddie not doing that. I'm thinking about that. I'm saying that. I'm like, he values his son over everything. So, like, he literally stayed with a woman thinking it was good for his son before.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to not talk to Christopher about this.
Right.
Like I
Right.
said that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so not Eddie. Like, if they tried to do that, I would actually, like, so riot. Because that'd be so out of. This right now, Eddie moving too fast is not unusual.
Right.
But that the other, so it's weird. And then we find out that Marisol was a former nun. She was a novice. She just didn't make it all the way through. She didn't take her final vows. And he finds out through a photo. Marisol didn't even tell him.
Which I think is pretty bad on her part.
That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like I know they explain it later, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
disagree with the reason, but I don't think
Right.
it's something she shouldn't have told him. Like that, like
yeah.
that's kind of important. That's a large
Right.
part of your life. How have you gone? Presumably, you guys have talked about your lives before, right? Like, and what's happened. Presumably, have you just been like skirting the fact you were none? Because, like, what? Okay,
It,
so
it,
I can see
it
that being skirted for the first few dates. But if you're moving in together,
Mm-hmm.
you need to talk about it.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it like and like I like disregard everything that happened in this scene, but like just I don't know. It's like it plays a part because we're like getting Eddie's like religious guilt.
We
Yeah.
have not tackled this before. We have not really
Right,
tackled this.
which
We finally get
yeah.
confirmation. Like we all assumed. I don't think we really had much beyond like the whole like Saint Christopher medal kind of deal. I don't think we had much
We
beyond that
all
to indicate
assumed
like
that there was something
how
there.
Yeah.
we assumed because he was a Texas Latino that he was or at least Texas Mexican that he was Catholic because
Yeah.
Catholicism is the major religion for
Right.
Mexican and Latino families. And so it's true. That has been confirmed. I'm glad they didn't really go somewhere else other than that because I feel like that would have been a little too like odd. I don't know, but like okay, so we finally confirmed he has Catholic guilt that he's not
Mhm.
necessarily practicing.
Right.
He's not practicing. He doesn't know. He even said right now he doesn't know where he's at. So I'm wondering also like, did they not talk about religion?
I
So
can
I'm sorry
relate
for
to
me.
that because like I
For
was
me,
raised as Catholic and like I'm not a practicing Catholic. Also, like my mom only really raised us that way because like my grandparents like pressured or my grandfather
Mhm.
specifically pressured her to like
Yeah.
get us baptized and then for us to go to like Sunday school, like communion, like we had we had stopped going like way before like confirmation and stuff like that.
Right.
But like
yeah.
I can relate to that. And like especially in a later scene Eddie was talking about like being feeling pressured about certain things and I was like, yeah, I can relate to that.
I think I'm just like they're at the point of moving in together. And
Yeah.
maybe it's just me. But I'm someone who thinks like when you're dating someone, you talk about things like religion, politics. You gotta make sure you're on the same page with.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
For the
have
most
they
part,
not talked about religion before? If they did she just not say she was a nun? Because that is a
I
step
honestly feel
beyond
like they
just
didn't talk
religious.
about any of the important stuff because like a lot of the stuff, especially in later scenes, it's all like adding up of how fast they're moving. And I don't even think this is like something that Eddie wants. I feel like it's just a repeat of when he was with Anna, except for like
Mhm.
10 times worse.
Yeah.
I think he's
Like
trying too hard to force himself. I think I feel like he's doing something, which I myself do, which is assuming you're just being too comfortable or that you're being too like reserved and that you need to get out of your box. So you ignore like signs that you're telling yourself as like, oh, I'm just being too close-minded on something. Oh, I'm having my own hangups. I need to move past them rather than actually paying attention to signs. I
right.
do
Right.
that. I understand that. But I feel like that's what he's doing. But yeah, so doesn't see her the same. We literally get a scene of him literally visualizing her as a nun. I started dying
Yeah.
laughing at this point.
Yeah, it was
I'm like,
hilarious.
this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be stressful, but this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I feel like she's only been in a couple of episodes. I'm like, did I miss the original introduction of her? And Buck said in even the last scene, like last episode, he's made it a point not to date people he meets on calls. That's somebody they met on a call.
Well, that's Buck's
Granted, she was
rule,
not
not
being the
Eddie's rule.
rescued.
True. That's true.
Granted, it's
But
not someone they particularly rescued, but it's still someone they met on a call.
yeah, and
Like,
I'm like,
Eddie should
Eddie,
incorporate that rule though,
he should. And I feel like
because his last two girlfriends he met.
Yeah.
on calls.
No, Anna was not a call.
Well,
she was Christopher's teacher.
yes, but if you think about it, when they rekindled
Jinx.
things,
Yeah.
they rekindled things based on being like meeting on a call.
That's fair. I don't know if I still necessarily count it, but I guess it does kind of.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have dated if he didn't run into her on the call, is my thing.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
Fair.
I feel like Eddie is still trying to navigate this, and I think Ryan has said in interviews that we've seen now with the Catholic stuff, he's trying to follow, we've had his aunt and his parents and his grandma are all talking about, oh, you need to settle down, so he's trying to appease them by like dating someone, and it's not, he's just got to break that he doesn't have to. They think he should, and I think he's had several girlfriends now, and Chris is starting to see things, and he's a little older now, and he's going to have to be a little more cautious about how he has relationships with people, because we already know Chris is starting to not see women appropriately because his mom walked out on him. Yeah. So it's hard for him to really have positive relationship with women in that way. So I'm like, Eddie, you've got to be an example, not a and if what did they do, just fall into bed together and just that's all they talked about? Because that's how I'm starting to feel like that happened.
Yeah,
I'm like, were you guys just thinking about sex and then the rest of it was just coming later? Like, you don't just move in with somebody unless you know, like, oh yeah, this is a person I want to live with, or this is a person that I want to have, something with. But yeah.
Like, I'm gonna lighten the mood a little bit with something I keep seeing around, because I think this is funny as fuck. Mr. Eddie Diaz, I don't know where he gets it from, talking about his player son, and he literally has a husband, a boyfriend, and a girlfriend at this point.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't know where he gets it from, sir.
That's good. I like it.
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, you're being a player without even realizing it.
Right.
It's a disaster. But we're gonna keep moving on because we'll have other points to talk about this.
Right.
Because we're gonna bounce back to Karen and Hen and Mara. So Karen is tucking Mara in. She says goodnight, and then at some point in the night, Hen and Karen wake up to Mara standing over them in bed. Bro, I thought I entered a horror movie.
Oh my god,
like,
this scared the crap out of me. I felt like we
How
were
many
watching
genres
like
did
The
we cross
Exorcist or something. Like,
yeah,
it
that
was
was
so
genres did this cross
creepy.
over
If that
to?
had happened to me, I would have been screaming.
Especially since she's got like this dead stare.
I
She's
know, I
just
felt like we were in
staring
a
at them
scary
from the end of
movie.
bed. I'm like, oh my god. And then when Karen gets out of bed, or Hen and Karen get out of bed to like talk to her, she starts screaming.
Right.
Screaming her head off. It was so creepy. It was so sad, because like, what the hell is happening? We don't know what happened to her at this point. But there's something happened.
At first I thought she was like sleepwalking, but then I was like, no, it definitely seems like a trauma response. So here we get another indication of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And then
yeah,
so then we get our first Buck and Eddie episode, our Buck and Eddie solo part of the episode. And this is we're back to comedy now. We're out of horror. We're back to comedy. So Buck comes in early with the intention of talking to Eddie about everything. Immediately changes the topic. He loses his nerve and says how Eddie is there early. And Eddie is avoiding Marisol after finding out she was almost a nun. And let's just say he's he's pent up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because apparently the man can go years without having sex because he's devoted to his not quite ex-wife, but he has a girlfriend for like a couple months and he's horny all the time.
Well, she is.
Sir. Yeah, true.
Right.
But he apparently she is all for doing the giggity all the time. And
Mhm.
so I guess he's also into that. But he's right now he's avoiding her because he knows she's going to want to have sex with her. She's really into morning sex. And so this is so comedic. I'm sorry. I have to laugh. And then Eddie asks Buck if he was raised religious. And I love that we're touching on this actually. So Buck's like, no, they were Episcopalian. And Eddie mentioned how he was raised Latin Catholic, Rosary Beads Catholic school. Which going back to the Eddie and Bad of Soul scene earlier, he was like, "You're not going to smack her with a ruler, are you?" I'm like,
I know.
Yep, Catholic
Oh
Catholic
yeah,
school.
that's right.
Yep, okay.
Ouch, yep, that would do it.
My mom was raised Catholic as well.
Mhm.
So she also had the whole nuns and smacking rulers and all that kind of thing. So I was like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. I may have been raised religious, but I'm so glad I was not raised Catholic. But he went until he was old enough to say that it wasn't for him.
Right.
And he explained how Catholic, and Buck doesn't really get it. And Bucks mentions that Eddie should talk to Bobby about it, seeing as Bobby is a practicing Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got a hit on the one point of Eddie talking about how he's pent up, and Buck going,
Wish I
"Wish
could
I could
help you
help."
with that.
Oh,
The
honey.
Buggy fandom goes crazy.
Oh, honey. And the OT3 fan. I'm like, I'm over here going like, but call your boyfriend, come over. We'll take care of you, okay? Like,
Right? For sure.
oh my gosh. The those of us who are thoroughly enjoying all ships involved within the three characters, because I'm having the time of my life right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, we can solve this. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
And then Eddie's like, weren't you gonna say something? And Buck's like, no. And you know what? I feel like it's better off that they didn't have the conversation right now.
Yeah, the
Because I feel
firehouse is
like
maybe not the best place to have that kind of conversation. I don't think it would go
Yeah.
with Buck's comfort level anyways.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially
he
if you don't
was
want
prepared, but he
Yeah.
lost his nerve.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Clearly Buck's kitchen is just the hub to have every conversation.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah.
But then Bobby and Hen talk. Can we just Bobby is just being the dad figure for everybody, or the older
Right.
brother figure for everybody, because he and Hen are a little closer in age.
Mhm.
And I love it. He's just being big captain. I love him. So Hen is talking about their night with Mara, and she hasn't said a word, but Bobby reminds her that a day and a night is not long, and when Mara feels safe, she will open up. And Hen gets a text from Karen and needs to call her. And I believe we get at the end of the scene, we learn that Denny is in the hospital or
Yeah,
something
he had
along
a
those
big
lines.
yeah, Karen sent her a picture of a big gash across
Above his
Denny's face
eyebrow.
with on his forehead with like stitches and stuff.
And it's like, oh no. Because immediately we know this is related to the conversation. Like, oh, this is not good. So we get Hen on the phone with Karen, and Karen says there's a projectile coffee cup and that Denny is fine. He just had to get stitches. And apparently it was something it appears like Denny had moved Mara's blanket and she
Yeah.
flipped out. And Denny himself, I think, is saying along the lines of, "Don't be mad. It was an accident. I didn't like." He was trying to like appease like their like for the sake of Mara,
Right.
being like, "No, it wasn't her fault. She was just upset." But throwing things around is not a great thing. So, and clearly they have to think about the kid they already have. So they're in a tough spot.
Right.
I don't envy this at all because they don't want to give up on Mara, but they also cannot get Denny hurt.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
need to talk to the social worker.
Yeah, and I can definitely see both of their sides. I feel Deidre should have clued them in a little bit more onto what was going on with her, but I also feel like she didn't want to tell her all that because she was concerned that if she shared all that, it would scare him away at first. So it was like they
And
kind of had,
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
with the whole group home thing, less of her behavior was caught, because a lot
Mhm.
of group home situations tend to involve some
Yeah.
sort of intentional or unintentional neglect. So it
Mhm.
may have
Yeah.
just been people were too overwhelmed to
Right.
really catch what the issue was. So she may have had an idea that something wasn't quite right, or known that she was less adjusted, but she might not have known how bad it was.
Yeah.
Um, so they called the social worker in, but we just we just get them getting to the point where they need to do something because they have Denny to worry about, and they want to say something before they get attached or before Mara gets attached to them. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's already going to be painful as it is. It's going to be even more painful if they wait. Like,
Right.
if they wind up having to be like, we can't do this anymore. So then we go into Eddie talking to Bobby. And Bobby, we love Bobby being like, lapsed Catholics are still Catholic. Um, and Bobby, so Eddie tells Bobby about Medisol and understands why he's freaked out. And Bobby mentions that when things got real with Anna, that's when panic attacks started. And Eddie
Mhm.
was like, "So you think I'm a commitment phobe?" And Bobby's like, "You don't seem to have a commitment problem committing to certain things: the military, this job, your son, Shannon. Also, never mind that this is also the man who wrote, Buck into his will
Oh
to
yeah, he'll
only
commit
to
to
you
that.
know with him."
I was gonna say that too. I was like, he'll commit to that.
Yeah. Which clearly, certain people don't still know about that, which is kind of crazy to me.
Right. I know. It's like, can you
Mhm.
imagine all these new fans that are watching this not understanding, and then they're gonna go back and watch all the other shows. They're gonna learn it
Yeah,
all.
I know. It is
Yes.
interesting because like a lot of people are like starting the show, and I'm like, what took you guys so long?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, are you
And then
kidding
Eddie,
me?
yeah. And then Eddie mentions that he felt pressured, and they both did, referring to him and Shannon, to get married because clearly Chris was conceived out of wedlock. Um, and they never regretted it, even when he never regretted things got really bad. He always loved being married to her. And we never have a doubt. We always know that Eddie always loved Shannon. No matter what his sexuality or his romantic attraction is right now, we know he loves Shannon. So Bobby's like, I'm not going to tell you how you feel about Medisol because only you know that. But Eddie asked Bobby what he would do, and Bobby's like, I would go to confession. Because it's
That is
true.
not
As a Catholic,
helpful.
he would go to confession.
I always
I'm
hated
so
confession
glad.
because I never had anything to confess. Or it's just awkward when you're like a little kid, uh, having to be forcibly go to confession.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
I'm
Yeah.
just glad this is a scene because we saw this scene in one of the promos and everyone's freaking out that it was like Eddie was leaving the 118.
I know. I
No,
was just like,
this is
guys, that
not
is
it.
not happening.
Guys, we already got that storyline. Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna get it
Yeah.
again.
Repeat.
I was just happy to
Oh,
see Eddie and Bobby talking to each other. I love
yeah,
when
me
they
too.
have chats.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Like,
I feel
I
for
think. Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. I think the last time we got something like this was actually about Anna in season 4. I don't remember a scene in season 5 or 6 where Bobby and Eddie had a sit down talk. I could be wrong. I don't remember everything very clearly, but I'm pretty sure this is at least the first in a while we've gotten. So
Yeah, it's been a
it's
while.
good.
yeah,
What were
I
you
feel
saying,
like
Adrian?
I don't know. I feel like this was a good scene in a way because I feel like we've gotten Eddie is using Bobby as kind of like a sounding board because I feel like he could not talk to his family about this, and he could
Mm,
talk to Buck. He did already talk to Buck, but like Buck said, he didn't grow up in the same religious faith as Eddie, and so he doesn't understand or doesn't get kind of the Catholic guilt that Eddie was talking about. And I love that for like Buck and Eddie, Bobby's like a father figure to them, but then for like
mhm.
Chim and Hen, he's just like their older brother, like because of the age
Yeah.
differences. But I love it. I love I love seeing Bobby with the guys, kind of being their parent or family member and pseudo dad.
Their mentor, like their inspiration, role model. I love Bob.
And I was like, yeah, Bobby, call him out on your commitment or lack of with everything. So
Yeah. So yeah. Even though it's surfacing with Marisol, it's not about Marisol.
It's way bigger
Uh,
than that.
way bigger than that. And we're gonna tackle this. And I'm not sure if this is the reason that like Eddie and Marisol won't survive like that, but quite possibly. I don't know. We'll see, and we'll be exploring that more later on. Um, but so then we go into another scene, and this was actually the scene that made me cry. And
Same.
yeah, so tough.
because I don't handle animal injury or animal death very well, and it looked like
Same.
we were handling animal death here.
Yeah, that's what I
So
thought.
I was immediately sobbing. I was like, no. I was not prepared for this. It was such a whiplash because of how like just comedic the episode had been so far. And then suddenly we were very serious. So there's a captain requesting an RA unit because a firefighter was bit by a dog at a fire, and he was bit down to the bone.
That was
Which
gnarly. Like I was like, ooh.
yeah, and it's sad. This dog was formerly used for dog fighting. I believe this was a Doberman.
Yeah, it looked like it.
So I think they said Doberman. Yeah, she was so cute. I love Dobermans. And dog fight absolutely terrible. And we see this so often with like pits and Dobermans and other dogs they use for this.
Yeah.
They're traumatized like this, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. And then the firefighter is apologizing for not being able to save the dog.
Yeah.
Um,
Because she keeps
and
like saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, she was a rescue. She was terrified. She was used. You know," and then she's apologizing, and because most of the time when dogs attack people, the dogs are put down, and I think that was her fear, because he attacked or she attacked the firefighter.
well, also the dog was still in the house that was on fire. So
Right.
at this point, it's like the dog probably they didn't need to worry about that because the dog was probably already dead. And at this point, I'm already crying because this also reminds me there was something real life that happened recently. I think it was a former like pro wrestler or something. His house burned down, and their dog um woke up him, and he was able to get his parents out of the house, but he went back in for his dog and had to be rescued. Like he was in bad shape, and the dog didn't make it out.
Yeah, there was
And I was sobbing the entire time I read that news story.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago. I want to say it was a month ago, something like that. I heard about it and I sobbed. It was so I was thinking of that the entire time I was watching the scene. So it was like a double whammy. I'd already been so upset over that story because it broke my heart.
Yeah.
The guy I made up sleep the dog Dan, and then I was like, oh no, if we're doing a close repeat on this one, I'm not gonna survive. So I was already crying. And then they bring the dog out, and she's going. Her name's Rosie, but then Hen, like she kind of spurs into action. She starts doing CPR and I think Chim's helping with like getting the air, and they get the dog breathing again, and she's okay. She's a little hurt, but she's okay.
Well, and I think there was a moment where Hen had this. She was trying to piece together in her personal life what was going on with Mara and Denny and Karen and her. Also, like, here this dog has been being rescued and adopted by somebody that she's very loving to, and then here this dog acts out in aggression because of past trauma. So it's like
And
Hen is
fear.
realizing, oh gosh, I don't want to be another person like that in Mara's life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I knew like once the scene started that's what, and we found out about the dog that's what they were trying to do. And especially like
Yeah.
Chim saying like, oh, like Hen never gives up. And I loved that. And I was just like, that is the whole reason why this was important. Like to show like that she never gives up and that
Right.
like everything she does in the scene.
I think it also like yes, it does. It tells her, I think it tells her the missing part of why like Mara's lashing out. So like why is Mara lashing out? She hadn't quite thought about it
Right.
before. It gives her a direction on where to start looking. Because yes, it is still a possibility that they won't be able to be the home for Mara if this keeps happening, but she can have a different approach to things. They can start looking at how to actually help her instead of just moving blind. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is super important. The scene still it made me sob, but I think it was a good scene to have. I'm happy that overall they did not go with an animal to death like ending because
Mhm.
it would have totally just kind of ruined the rest of the episode
Right.
for me because I don't
Yeah.
move past that easily.
Right.
Yeah. I think they would have had to do a warning at the beginning of the show if it was going to go in that route.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
like that's
for
why I
sure.
was literally like it was still very sad and I was crying, but I was like, no, that's not where the scene's gonna be headed.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that was quite a scene. And so reliably, there's Athena. And she in the next scene, so there's Athena, she gives Hen a file on Mara's parents, and a lot of it's redacted. A lot of it is sealed
Mhm.
because of Mara's age.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
read it together and Hen finds out that they died the same night of an opioid overdose. And
Mhm.
that they don't have a record of who called 911, but they know someone called 911. And so it's obvious immediately that I think this is at the point where we're like, oh, Mara found them. Mara called
Right.
911. And so Hen and Karen go to the call center and Maddie helps surface the call for them and they listen to it. And yes, it was Mara who called 911. She found her parents dead. She was too young. She just thought they were sleeping, but they couldn't wake up. And
Mhm.
she says how they take pills that make them sleepy, but they always wake up. It was so heartbreaking listening to her
Yeah.
because then the
Yeah.
dispatcher, who wasn't Maddie, it was someone else, was talking her
Mhm.
through, are they breathing? Like, put your hand under their nose. Because at some point, Mara is old enough to understand the concept of death at this point,
Mhm.
even if she doesn't understand that's what she's looking at some point. So you can
Right.
just hear like it all start to hit her. It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Um, and and these also, according to the file, these were parents that were like in and out of trouble, in and out of prison kind of deal. They both had
Mhm.
rap sheets.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mara wasn't just watching Hen and Karen sleeping. She was afraid that
Yeah.
they weren't going to wake up. And
Right.
she was trying to protect them. And she was having a traumatic response, and that's why she started screaming.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah. I'm
it's
like, I love that Athena helped them out and love that they were able to hear the call so they could at least really understand and then, maybe do something about it to help Mara.
yeah. I'm glad they did that. And that's definitely when you start like you can piece together everything. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
like, and unfortunately, this is also, I think, this is representative of a sad reality for a lot of kids in the system,
Yeah.
especially with an opioid epidemic that we are still having, and have been having for a while.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely it's tough. And also, again, we don't quite know how much the caseworker knew, but even if she knew any of this, it's clear she wanted her to get a win.
Yeah.
And yeah, this kid needs something.
Right.
Uh, and this something could very well be Hen and Karen. Um, so now we get our other Buck and Eddie scene, and we're in Buck's kitchen, and immediately you know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I
'Cause it's
saw
always
stills.
good.
I saw gifs of this scene come out before I watched the episode. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good. So Eddie is still avoiding Marisol.
Mhm.
I'm like, honey, you can avoid her forever. You can just break up with her.
Yes.
Right.
Like
Yes,
literally I
I
could care
agree.
less about them in this scene. Like I think when I rewatched it, I just like was like, let's just skip over this part because literally I don't care. And I just love Eddie like just not wanting to go home. It's like Eddie, just crash on Buck's couch. Like it's
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
Nobody will
Does Buck have
mind.
a couch?
Yeah, his
Yes.
mom
Does
bought
he
him
have a
one.
couch yet? I thought that was the one that got destroyed by Cameron giving birth.
Remember him and Natalia got a couch in the season 6 finale?
Oh, that's right.
And it was like a burnt orange. Has anyone looked to see if there's a couch yet?
There's a
Mm.
couch in there.
Oh wait, no. Well, Natalia and Buck were going to go buy a couch together.
Yeah, and the
That was the
season
end of the
finale is
finale.
6. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So he didn't like toss her out with the couch. Like, okay, he's finally decided to keep a couch at least, I suppose.
It's a couch.
Okay,
just
so yeah, keep it. But yeah, crash on the couch. Come on. So
Or,
yeah, so
in the loft in Buck's bed, it's big enough.
oh, even better. Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Oh no. And so we're basically reiterating what Buck and Eddie have already talked about as far as
Mhm.
Marisol goes. We're not going to dwell on that much more. But Eddie says how Buck and Tommy had the right idea. Stay single and hang out with the boys. And I'm just there like,
Well, so about
well,
that.
about that.
wow. And you know what? Eddie gave Buck such a perfect opening.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Buck took it. I'm so proud of him.
Yes,
He
so
took
am I.
it. And he was like, he explains on a date. And he explains that they were on a date when Eddie Marisol ran into him the other night. And Eddie's like, really? And he's like, wait, Tommy's gay?
I love how like
He's
well I
Not a
get
question
the
about
whole-
Buck.
right.
Just
Yeah.
Tommy's gay?
I love how like I don't know like to say I don't know it kind of went over Eddie's head where like
Mhm.
and stuff and it's like
He
so
didn't question a
perfect.
thing.
Yeah.
He didn't question a thing, and I love it. Other
I
than
do
Tommy
love
being
that.
gay. I died laughing. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Of course. And Buck's like, that never came up when you two were hanging out. And he's like, no. I mean, not that it would have mattered. And Buck says, well, he doesn't volunteer it, but he doesn't hide it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If I'm sure if like past significant others would have come up, it
Mhm.
probably would have come up, but they probably only
Yeah.
talk about the fact that Tommy's single and Eddie has a girlfriend. That's probably
Mhm.
about it. So Eddie's like, so you two were, and you can see the wheels turning. He's processing it, and Buck's like, we were on a date. Yes.
But
And Eddie's like,
I think he was also giving Buck the option to say something, like to continue
Yes.
on. Like he was trying to feed in or pull enough out to like get Buck to open up.
He was trying to listen, which I
Yeah.
appreciate.
And I think
Yeah,
Ryan
he-
even mentioned in an interview that he'd recently had a friend come out to him, and so he was able to kind of draw on his reaction and that time in his life to in this situation. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
yeah. And I think this is great. This is how I'd like someone reacting if I came out to them. So
Absolutely.
I think he did a good job. And he's like, okay. And Buck's like, is that weird? And he's like, no, absolutely not. And he's like, I too, just not in the same way, evidently. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, fair enough, I suppose. And Eddie reminds Buck that this doesn't change a thing between them. And Buck's like, good, that's relief. And it's so sweet. And then Buck goes on to say, well, it doesn't really matter anyway, because Tommy dumped him. And he's like, that's fast, even for you.
Oh,
Ooh,
just
calling
like,
him out. I love it.
Eddie. That was, oh my gosh. And Buck's like, well, I guess you can't dump me because we weren't technically together. Basically, when they ran into Eddie and Marisol, Buck made an idiot of himself, and Tommy said he didn't think Buck was ready. And Eddie's like, well, what do you think? And actually, I love that he asked that question. Instead of saying anything else, he's just like, well, what do you think? And Buck's like, I kind of can stop thinking about him. And I'm like,
oh, I love it.
Cute.
The whole fandom can't stop thinking about him.
I agree. I agree.
I have Tommy Kennard brain rot, and I'm not ashamed.
Same.
Oh, I will say I have already made an entire side blog on Tumblr that's devoted just to 9-1 stuff, and it's largely Tommy centric because I have
There you
brain
go.
rot right now.
I know.
Oh,
I'm so
man.
into it.
And I'm like, yeah, me too. I also cannot stop thinking about him. I can't stop about thinking you guys together, all that. Yeah, I'm here for all of it. And Eddie's like, well, you know what I think? You should call him. Buck's like, really? And Buck's like, and Eddie's like, heck yeah. He doesn't know you're an idiot. Once he gets to know you and then he knows you're an idiot, he'll love you. Like we all do.
I loved that line so freaking much
Yeah.
because it's so
Best,
true.
like I don't care. Again, I love Buddy. I'm here for Buddy. But even just as a best friend thing, this is the perfect best friend.
Yeah.
I would so say this to my best friend.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, this is.
I mean, yeah, that's like the whole thing about best friends is like you can like support them, but you can also call them out on their shit at the same time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and he wasn't being demeaning about it or anything. He was just there like, it's fine. It's fine. There you go. We all love you.
Yep.
Because he was also like reassuring, like, hey, we adore you too. And so let's see. I lost my place in this. Okay, there we go. And Buck says, what if he says no? And then Eddie's like, well, then he's an idiot.
Right.
True. There you go. And then Eddie tells Buck not to walk away from something before you even know what it is. And then he says, that sounds like some good advice. And Eddie's just like, I really talked myself into that one, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And I love it how they were both able to like, they both were having their own shit going on, and they're both able to take their time talking about their own shit, but they were able to respect the other person talking about their shit. Again, it was a well done conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I would perfectly be about never seeing that episode again, I think it was good advice, and I think Buck was good to turn that back on Eddie because it's true. And Buck's like, no, Eddie's like, I got something about a soul. And then he goes to leave and then turns around. He's like, come here. And they hug.
We got our first buddy
come
hug in
here.
like how many seasons? Like 4 seasons?
It's been like since at least season 3.
Yeah, 3.
Was it the last one we got was like Halloween?
Somebody did a video of all the hugs. I need to go back and revisit that.
The last one we got was when Buck was hugging Eddie when Eddie tells him, just don't do it again in season 3. That was the last hug we got.
We have come so far. How have we not gotten a hug? Oh my gosh, I have issues with the fact we haven't gotten a hug in 4 seasons. But I am so happy we finally got another one. ABC, Tim, all of it, we need to fix this. I require at least one Buck and Eddie hug each half of a season.
That's fair enough.
At least one a season, okay? Like it's too much.
At least at minimum.
At minimum. Can we break like the internet and do a couple hugs in an episode?
Ooh, that would be nice. The fandom would lose their shit.
I will cease and desist. I will pass away. I will not. You will never hear from Grace again. I'll be dead. I will be so on the floor, flat on my back. Yes. Again, I am living for all of this. So yes. And then Eddie looks at Buck, points at him, and he's like, "Call Tommy," which I was like, parallel to the last episode.
I know, I was just thinking about that.
Could you please just call Eddie?
Right. Yeah, for God's sake, call Eddie. Yeah.
Call Eddie. And I'm like, oh, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I do too.
2 boyfriends working to make sure that their other boyfriend fucks each other. I'm sorry, I'm here making this into even more of a comedy than it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Eddie and Madison both sneak into Eddie's house. I'm not calling it their house. Eddie's house.
It is,
and
Eddie's.
They agree.
It is Eddie's.
It is Eddie's house because they agree that she needs to move out and that they're going to date
God.
And I love the comment. I can't wait to move out. I'm like, same here.
Same here. The whole fandom.
I can't wait for you to break up.
We paid for you.
But I'm so glad this only lasted 1 episode. I'm so glad.
I know.
So it just occurred to me that she might be at the Maddie wedding.
Okay, I was thinking about this in my head, and I was just like, please, can she not be in the next episode? And then I figured, oh, she probably will be at the wedding, and I'm just like, ugh.
Can she have like a DIY drama and then not be able to make it? Like she's covered in like plaster or something? I don't know. Like even if we haven't broken them up yet.
my brain right now being like, can she like get like kidnapped and then they just put her in a shed and she stays in there for the whole episode?
Please. Oh my gosh. I hope they break up. I don't want her at the Maddie wedding. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. So Karen talking with Mara. I love how much Karen we're getting this episode. I'm just saying, I
Oh,
love
yes.
it.
Me too.
I'm here for it. Oh my gosh. So she's asking if she can come in, if she can sit. The consent, we love it. We
I
love
know,
it.
that
So
was so
important.
important.
Teach your kids about consent, guys. Even for
Yep.
the smallest things or what seems like the smallest
Yeah.
things, teach them consent. And she's like, this must be hard. You must be scared. She puts a little monitor on Mara's bedside so she can look at the monitor in the middle of the night to know that Hen and Karen are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at first, like I thought that little, I don't know. I wasn't sure what to think about it at first, but I think
I thought it was
overall,
a
like
little
that's
weird
gonna be
at
good.
first, but you
Mhm.
know, because like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you'll definitely you're gonna have to be very intentional about what you're doing before and in bed. But as long they obviously they know it's set up and everything. They're
Mhm. Yeah.
so yeah. And I guess probably after a little while,
yeah, it's like a
Mara will probably get
period.
to the point.
Yeah.
Mara will probably get to the point where she's more secure in
And she
being,
won't need it.
without that. So
Mhm.
yeah, and even then, I find it really cute. I find it really sweet.
Yeah, it's supportive, which is what I like. But I think
Right.
that thought did cross all our minds where we're all like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's usually not that way. Yeah. I really liked it. I feel like that was a good like acknowledgement. Like they're like we're acknowledging that you have some trauma. You're worried that we're not gonna, wake up. And so I want you to be able to look at us and see us sleeping and be okay with that. And I feel like, yeah, it's gonna be a phase for a little while until she gets used to them. And
Mhm.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Good call. And yeah, I love that we're getting more Karen and I love that Hen got to see like the reaction too kind of at the end. So
Mhm. Yeah, because at the end we have Karen saying goodnight, and when she gets to the door, Marissa's it back. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. And Hen witnesses that too, and that's so cute. I personally would have been okay if we kept like maybe the nonverbal storyline a little bit longer, because sometimes it lasts longer than for others. But I'm
Mhm.
not upset. I'm not upset that she spoke.
Right.
I think that's sweet, and I'm hoping we don't like neglect the storyline or anything. I'm hoping they continue to do really well with that throughout the season, because this is not going to be resolved in one episode.
Right.
Like Mara's got a lot of time. I'm hoping they get her with a good child therapist.
Yeah.
In fact, Eddie probably can think of a good one off the top of his head because Chris went to therapy after the
Right.
tsunami.
Yep.
So maybe. Yeah. So now oh my gosh. So I cannot tell you how many times I've watched these following
I
two
love
scenes.
this.
Mhm.
Yes. So we get
Yeah.
Buck and Tommy. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at. I've been so excited to talk about this. Ever since I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can talk about it in the episode. So Buck sits down with coffees, and a minute later, Tommy sits down, and oh my gosh, they look so soft. They look
Mhm.
so soft and so gentle, and I'm here for it. Oh my gosh. So Buck thanks Tommy for agreeing to meet him, and Tommy's like, yeah, of course. And Buck says how he got his coffee, but he wasn't sure how he liked it. He just took a guess. And Tommy tastes it and was like, so not like that. And
That's really cute.
yeah, at first, when he did that, I'm like, oh, did Buck get it right? And he's like, so not like that. I'm like, yeah,
That is like so typical, and like I can
Yeah.
relate to that because it's like either people will get it like so right or they'll get it so wrong. There's no
Mhm.
in between, and you also don't want to mess up somebody's coffee order because it will affect their day.
yes. Even I
Right.
who don't drink coffee knows that.
Yeah.
Doesn't. So yeah, that's fair. And Buck's like, yeah, there seems to be a lot of things we don't know about each other. And Tommy's like, well, practically everything. And then he does like the cutest like little smile afterwards, like kind of reassuring, he's just teasing a little bit.
I know, I love
Mhm.
I'm
it.
like, oh, soft. And Buck's like, well, I would like to change that. And he starts talking about how he'd like to apologize for the way he behaved the other night. And Tommy's like,
Mhm.
you have nothing to apologize for. And Buck's like, no, I do. And Tommy's like, I did cut things short because you behaved badly. I did because I didn't want to pressure you.
Yeah.
And Buck's like, still, the way he reacted was not the proudest moment. And Tommy's like, noted. I'm like, okay, we love that. you know, got through the apology part of things. And Buck says, "So you said before that you don't think I'm ready. And the truth is, I don't know what I'm ready for, but I am ready for something. And I think that maybe that something could be with you." And
Mhm.
I love it.
I
I
love
love
it.
that Buck is opening up.
Yes.
I'm proud of him.
And that he's, he's taking a leap. It's still all very new for him, but he's not letting, the newness of the situation or, him still kind of figuring out himself a little bit to get in the way of something that he knows he wants and wants to explore. And I love that Tommy's being gentle with him. He's not pressuring him. He didn't end the date because he wasn't interested, that's for sure. He didn't want to pressure Buck, and I love that.
Which is sweet because they talk about the next thing you know you go to a movie and you start making out with your significant other in the movie theater, and I think he didn't want to push. He realized during dinner that Buck was really really new at this and didn't want to push and take a chance on pushing him too far, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, it was so important. Like, I loved like how like supportive, I guess, Tommy was. And like he didn't make Buck feel bad for like at what point he was with like this whole process since it was so new. Like I feel like a lot of times in shows or just in general, you hear and like see like how bad people make um queer characters or just queer people feel about
Yeah.
like their process of coming out or their process of like dating, and it's just like he didn't make him feel bad once. Like he was so supportive, and like that's so important.
And you know what? The way he's talking, I'm sitting here, I'm like, this man's been to therapy. Has Frank seen this guy? Because he's been to therapy.
I'm sure he
The way
has.
he's talking.
I'm sure he's on the
Yes.
payroll
Oh
somewhere.
yeah,
Oh
somehow.
my gosh. And I'm like, I think it's very lucky that this is Tommy, because we already know Tommy's story a little bit. We know how he started and we know where he is now. And we know that
Mhm.
he also came out later in life and that he
Right.
had to wrestle with himself. And I'm gonna bet he had a far worse time with it than Buck has been having. He probably had far
Mhm.
less of a support system. And we already know that he was lying to himself for a very long time for his own protection.
Right.
So, I think he's giving Buck the experience that he never got. And I think that is very special. And I think that, it is not on Tommy it for to handle Buck's feelings about himself, to handle his journey. It is not Tommy's responsibility. I don't think Buck is putting that on Tommy.
Right.
But it's okay if Tommy is there for the ride. And also, I'm sure he'll have some wisdom to share as well. That's not him, having the journey placed on him as well.
Yeah,
But
right.
it is, he's had to go through it.
And even if Tommy just ends up being a really good friend of Buck's, he's gonna be somebody that he can go to
Absolutely.
for support and be like, how did you do this and how did you manage this?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm here for whatever happens, as long as nothing ends badly. But
Mhm.
this is sweet. And then Tommy goes, well, you already know him.
Right.
And Buck's like, come with me to my sister's wedding.
I actually laughed at that line because I'm like, Chim has known Tommy longer than he's known Buck, so he probably was already invited. But
Yeah. Also, like,
I'm not actually sure, because like it's not like they've been in contact like a whole lot.
they
I don't know.
yes, but
Does-
like also like Chim had mentioned in previous episodes that he does like talk to him like
yeah.
every once in a while. So, and like they also worked together for a while, so like yeah, Chim would invite him.
Yeah.
and didn't
I
Chim
wouldn't.
save Tommy in Chim Begins?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He did. So, which is I love that scene. I've been rewatching it lately. I can't get enough of it. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was already invited. However,
Now
like
he's
there's
invited as Bucks +1.
exactly, and so Tommy kind of laughs off like, what? And Buck says that he wants Tommy to be his date to his sister's wedding, and Tommy's like, Evan. I love how he calls him Evan. Okay, like
Yeah.
this is so cute.
I do too.
This is very special
It's
to them.
yeah. Yes.
Like, oh my gosh. And Buck's like, come on, I'm serious. And he's like, listen, you already know half the people there, which is true. And Maddie really wants to meet Tommy. And I think that's when he starts talking about his sister really wants to meet him. That Tommy
Mhm.
starts like thinking, oh, he's actually serious. And Tommy's like, are you absolutely sure about this? And Buck's like, yes, I'm sure. It's gonna be free food, and I need someone to dance with. Oh my god, if we don't get a
Aw.
dance scene between the two of them, I'm gonna riot. I want them slow dancing, please.
Be nice.
I need it. I need it.
I do too.
Please. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then Tommy's like, okay. I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, great. And then they hold hands.
Oh,
Ah.
that was sweet.
I love it so much. Like I'm like just let me like have this moment with them. Because like yes, I like Buddy, but like I also really ship them, which I was
Yes.
just like, okay guys, what are we calling him? So like I posted this video and I
I've
was like,
seen
what are
3
we
different
calling him?
versions.
Okay, so like, and then so of course my whole comment section was like all these different names, and I'm just like a lot of like most of the comments were like Tevin, and I was like, okay, we're going with that. That is the elective ship name for Buck and Tommy.
I've
Yes.
seen.
I love Tevin as their name.
Okay, so
Tevin is the winner of
yeah,
my
Tevin,
whole.
because it can't be Tuck because
Tuck
they
is
use
gross.
that for
No,
TK and Buck.
which I still hate.
I've seen Kinley.
I've seen Kinkley,
Just-
I've seen them
I've
which
seen
I think
them
is
too.
funny.
Some of
Yeah.
the comments are so
I've-
funny though, because it was just like a lot of people were like Tevin, and then somebody, what did they say? Somebody goes the practice run.
Oh
And then
my
somebody
God.
says, and now, okay, I really like it, so like let's just let us have our moment. If you don't like it, just like, don't tell me because I don't want to know because I'm living for them right now. Like I really like it. I like don't want it to like end. I need the and like I had made a comment like also like somebody was like I was just like, okay, if Marisol can be in this many episodes, Tommy should be in way more.
Considering the fact he's actually liked
Pretty
generally.
much.
Though you know
Right.
what I remember I said I had a side blog on Tumblr that was pretty devoted. Yeah, I got my first hater in the ask in the in the ask section. I'm like, okay, well, you have fun with that. Get the fuck off my blog. Because this is not the place for you.
Right.
Yeah, no. Another one I've seen is Bummy.
I
Which
hate
I
that.
don't
Somebody's
like,
like,
but
I think it's
but I
funny.
think
I
it's
think
so
I think
fun.
it's stupid.
Yeah,
I think it's
don't
stupid.
like
I
that
think it's
one.
so stupid it's funny. But I
Yeah.
also do not make that the ship name. I am
Tevin.
so for Tevin. Tevin is it.
I'm for Tevin and I'm for Kinley. I like both
I like
of them.
Tevin.
I'm okay with both of them, honestly. Like I
So-
could go with either, but I am fine.
I mean,
What
okay, so
Kinkley?
we have to ask Oliver and Lou then because
They need to choose it. They need
Ryan
to choose the ship name.
and Oliver picked Buddy over Betty.
Well,
Betty! Oh my
Betty is like
God.
a girl's name or a dog's name, so like, why would we pick that?
Yeah. No. Okay. Someone needs to post it to Oliver and Lou then, and see
Yeah.
what they choose. I'm so
Please
down.
choose Tevin because like I'm so in love with that.
Yeah, I love it
It's
too.
so cute.
I'll like make a little clip for that and see if they reply to it because I would
Yeah.
literally die.
Yes.
I know. We can just have this whole little section here and just cut it out and be like, okay, pick your ship name.
But yes, so cute. I'm here for it. So we see a glimpse of the wedding coming up, and this is the final scene.
The mad new wedding is
so
coming.
I know,
Oh
like I
my
didn't
gosh.
expect to get like a glimpse of it in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was surprised.
And we see people sitting outside. We see Bobby and Athena there. And apparently, like the groom and the groom's party are half an hour late. And Philip Buckley is calling them, and he's only getting voicemail. And Hen tells Maddie that Buck's car just pulled up, and Hen is in a great suit. We're just gonna say this.
Oh
She's in a
yeah,
great
yeah.
suit.
She's looking good.
And Maddie's like, is Trim in his tux? And Hen's like, I didn't see. And then Buck and Henny. So this is where the destroyed clothes came from.
Right?
And I'm just
They
like, what
walk
the hell
in.
happened?
I know.
Their clothes are stained. Eddie is missing a shirt. He only has the collar left of his pink shirt. So he looks like this.
Well, he's missing like the under part. The suit part is still there.
Yeah, just the shirt.
And,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what they were wearing at their 100 episode celebration. And it's an 80s themed bachelor party. And they're so clearly majorly hungover. Eddie doesn't even know whose puke that is on his suit.
That's gross.
Oh my gosh. It's awful. And then Maddie questions where Chim is, and Buck says it's complicated, her face, and it ends there. And now we have like 2 weeks from the time you guys are watching it until we get another episode. And oh my gosh, that was such an episode, guys.
Yeah, I was shocked. I'm and then the promo obviously for next week's like, oh my god, or next time, because it's gonna be a while. But yeah, I like Katie said, I was really surprised to see a little bit of the wedding scenes in there. But now it explains why we've been seeing so many clips of it. And I was like, oh, okay, so part of it is in here. And but Buck and Eddie walking in looking hungover, and and I think Hen opening the doors to them, and she's just her face. I was like,
well, Maddie's like, don't let him see. Don't let him in. And it's
don't
like,
worry about that. He's
don't worry.
here.
We don't have to worry about that, but we're also like worried about that because he's not there.
Yeah. Oh man, this is something I'm so excited for next episode.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be. I was so happy with the Buck and Eddie scenes, the Buck and Tommy scenes, the Bobby scenes. We're gonna just ignore Marisol. She'll eventually be gone. And we love Hen and Karen. Again, I'm so glad we got so much of that. I'm so glad we got a lot of Karen. And Denny's growing so much.
I know. I love his curly hair.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, this episode was awesome. I really loved it. There was times to laugh, there was times to kind of cry, there's times to be serious. It was good overall, and I'm excited for Tommy and Buck's stuff, and I'm excited that Eddie realized that moving in with Marisol is not the best idea, and they're separate households again and go slow, which is what they should have done in the first place.
Which she was just renting out her place, so she can just move back in. At least she didn't give up her own place.
Right.
Yeah, I loved it.
So do we have fan thoughts?
Yes, a few. I liked the process and the pacing. Not only Eddie had to reevaluate a relationship, but Hen and Evan too, that I liked a lot. Even though they had to deal with different kinds of relationships, it was funny and emotional, a good mix, and nice prelude for the wedding. Yes, very much so.
Yes.
Absolutely. It was perfect. I don't care too much about Hen and Karen's storyline since it was very much advertised, but I will most definitely cry during the wedding, and I can't wait for Buck and Tommy's dance on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so as always, it's so funny to do the promos because I never see them. So I'm just speaking about something I haven't seen. So thank you for the notes. Or unless someone wants to talk about it who has seen the promo.
I've seen it. I could.
Yeah, me too.
If you want to talk about it, that's fine. I think it'd be funny if I did, but
I will because I feel like I can give so much context to it.
Yes.
And my thoughts.
Go for it.
So basically, Buck wakes up. He's on the ground at probably where they're staying, wherever it is, whether it's hotel or wherever. And he basically wakes up. He sits up, or he and he knocks into this beer bottle. Then you all of a sudden see Eddie in this bathtub, like one of those ones that's just like in the middle of the room type ones. And he just
Mm-hmm.
sits up out of it. And then you see like in another part, Chim is somewhere. Somebody is standing behind him and like well actually even before that, this is when Buck and Eddie realize that Chim's not there and Eddie's like breathing out and then yeah, obviously he comes back May 2nd and then Maddie's parents with G, her dad asks like where she's going or what she's doing and she's like to find my husband
Aw,
and I loved that. And
yes.
and then Maddie's like in her dress. Josh is like walking behind her, kind
Yay,
of like
Joss was
holding the
there.
Yes, we
back
have
part of
Josh.
it. And then we see Hen, and then Sue goes, runaway bride. And Hen goes more like runaway groom. And then Athena tells Maddie, like, we'll find him. And then we get like their bachelor party, like craziness, like buddy karaoke. And then Chim, this is the part I was alluding to, but Chim is crawling. Somebody is standing behind him and Jim is just like crawling, like being like, I'm supposed to be somewhere. And I'm just like, a few thoughts and also a few theories I've seen thrown out there. So I swear,
Mm-hmm.
Jim and Maddie need to like not have any more trauma revolving their life events because their
Right.
Can
first
they just
date,
get
he was
married?
literally stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And now this, and also I seen this theory out there. Somebody was like, so obviously Chim was like kidnapped, and they're like, what if it was Jonah? And I'm like, I'm not gonna cross that out of my mind, but also like,
Wow, that's been a while.
I
I
forgot
hear
Jonah
that name.
existed.
I haven't heard
I
that name in a
don't
while.
know. I don't know like how we're piecing that together, but I also don't want to take it out because honestly, it's very possible.
I mean, I feel like it's more possible than anything else.
Because
Yeah.
like, is it going to be
Because
some
who
random
else?
person on a call? No,
No, like
unlikely.
they're at the bachelor party. Like what's happening? I mean, I have many questions as to what's gonna happen. Because I mean, I've also seen a behind the scenes photo of, and I just actually got asked about this on my Tumblr about like there's apparently a photo where there's a body bag circulating.
Oh gosh.
I feel like that's
There
so unrelated.
maybe, or I don't know if it's Jonah. Maybe they finally killed Jonah. Who knows? But like I don't know. I that might be very unrelated. I do know that Lou said that his entrance to the wedding is going to be dramatic. So I'm like, okay, so does Tommy go save Chim? Because I'd be down for this if there was like
Yeah.
because Tommy's life was saved by Chim all those years ago. I would
Mm-hmm.
so be down for it if
Right.
Tommy saved Chim now. I don't know if that's what's gonna happen, but I would love it if that was. Or maybe it's just supposed to be dramatic because it's supposed to be like, he's showing up to the wedding. I don't know. But like I don't know. I have so many theories. I have so many thoughts. I cannot wait 2 weeks.
I know, I'm excited to see it.
I'm also hoping, I was just saying about this. I'm also hoping that we get some like flashbacks to not just to the bachelor party, but I'm hoping we get some like maybe of coming out to people. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think your sister's wedding is a great place to like be the first time anyone knows that you're bi.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, I
Right.
kind
Especially
of
if the
hope.
parents don't know and we don't know how the parents would react.
I don't really care about them knowing, you know
Oh,
what I
I don't
mean? Like,
care about them, but like who knows
I
how they'll
want,
react.
I want him to at least tell Bobby
Yeah, me too.
at
I
minimum.
want him to tell Hen, please. At this point,
Yeah,
Chim's next, so like
yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Hen's not really gonna have much of a reaction to it.
yeah. I don't know.
Compare, I mean, I don't think he's gonna have anybody that matters is gonna have like a major reaction to it. It's kind of just
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like, okay,
I think they're all just gonna be very happy
Yeah.
for him. That's it.
yeah.
Like very encouraging. Because
Yeah.
we know the family.
And they're
Yeah.
probably gonna talk about it at the bachelor party if it
Oh
comes up.
gosh.
If he brings it up.
Probably. Oh my god.
I'm like so excited because obviously I had seen like it might have been like a comment with Kenneth that was like, oh, like Chim's gonna be like the one that's like freaking out about things, and like the bachelor party's gonna be real wild and like that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, oh my god, like we're gonna get that whole thing, and I'm just like, I don't know, I have so many thoughts, and I'm just like, can we just have a normal wedding?
Right.
As long as
Yeah.
we get to see like the full wedding and they don't like distract from that with
Yes.
everything else. That's the one thing I hate when shows do that. And it's like, oh, we're just gonna skip over it. And I'm like, no.
Yes, I want like I don't know the way I need to have every second of the ceremony, but like definitely hit on the like the important parts. You know, oh my gosh, I want it.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I remember when Lou mentioned that his character would kind of come in interestingly. I was like, what if he like has to fly Chim out to the wedding, because they're definitely not like in like it didn't seem like they were in LA proper. Like it seemed like they're on the coast, obviously, because there's a beautiful view of the ocean. So I'm like, wouldn't he like he might have to go out and bring him back or something because of where he is.
Yeah,
That would be kind of cool.
I'd be so down for that. Yeah, some dramatic entrance for both of them. You know, Tommy just casually stealing a helicopter then.
Right.
He's like, listen, this time is important too.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts can be found. And be sure to check out our website at 911lsroundup.com. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So always be sure to join our Discord server. The link will be in the description of this podcast and also in our website.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at fortheloveoftarlos on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRathland911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and pretty much everywhere else. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.